Alrighty. Owen just needs to do this intro.
Really? It's like we're gonna have to learn how this works,
Yes.
especially since we're gonna be doing it this way. Thanks, Google Hangouts. Welcome everyone to. Hey, I'm actually here this time, and I'm actually able to host properly because I have my laptop on for the last 3 hours. Welcome to December. Good God, I can't believe it. Festivus is 2 days from now. Anyway, my name is Owen. Joining me, as always, we have Ashley
Mm-hmm.
and AJ.
Yes.
And you know what that means? No, it's not time for another sip and snack. No, it is time for yet another edition of when we're trying to predict the Academy Award. Nope, that's not this time. We're actually going to be doing something this time that's a little bit different. We're going to be talking about the Guilds, the Globes, and the Critics' Choice. AJ's favorite award show. But for some reason, very popular. Don't know why. Still can't get that. Like that odd, weird Ring of Honor podcast that me and Ashley did back in the day that I said any parting words and he snored at me. So
Hey,
never gonna forget that.
perhaps I was just channeling PCO like 2 years later.
It's very possible. So basically, yeah, we're going to be talking about the Screen Actors Guild nominations, the Critics Choice Awards nominations. I put them together apparently, and we're also going to be talking about the Golden Globes, which is actually coming up in a couple weeks, and the Spirit Awards because we forgot about the Spirit Awards. Even though technically speaking, it's the last award show, literally before the Oscars. So we will be coming at you guys next week in order to do our official Golden Globes nomination predictions for the winners. But today we're just going to talk about nominations, who missed, who didn't, and what's about this weird race that we've got going on now when a lot of people, when you think that there's nobody left, they just kind of peek their hand through. And now, are they in this? Are they not? We're about to talk about it and find out.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Given determined by what we're talking about, this may accidentally turn into a prediction video, but there will also be unofficial.
Yeah.
Of course.
And there's time for things to minds to change in between them. So that's a week that could with everything we're seeing now. That could happen. I look at these and I think about what could win, and I change my mind like every day.
Dear God, I look at this. I look at the screen right behind me, and I'm seeing all the pictures. And that's what Bry Guy said first. Pictures everywhere.
Well, I thought rather than do the logos of like whatever we're talking about, considering how it changed from 3 to 4, and because then I'd have to get the images of all the other guilds, so that'd be like it'd be a collage anyway. So I just thought let's do some of the big films that are circulating all of them. Hence why we've got 11 pictures.
And unlike last year, AJ knows this to be true. I've seen most of these movies this year.
Wow. He's catching up, everybody.
I am. Thanks, Movie Pass. Not this time. Bry Guy says 4 days till Christmas. I noticed that 2 of last year's films, The Grinch and Green Book, had the Christmas song "Chestnuts Roasting" at the end of those films. This is why Brian is our historian, ladies and gentlemen. He even talked about our Voices of Liberty video.
That's why they both sucked.
Talk about the movies, not Voices of Liberty. So there.
Yeah, no. Grinch and Green Book.
So yes, there's only one Grinch in this world, and it's performing currently right behind me, actually, in about 9 hours. Anyway, welcome everyone to our official discussion on what's going on with not the state of the race, but the state of these nominations that have come out. So let's get into, before we get started, like we always do with any of these podcasts, would be the state of the race. AJ, what's going on?
I think we're looking at it. The only thing to point out probably before we start is that, of course, as usual, some people are probably jumping the gun on SAG because there's always one movie that's missing from SAG because there's a good chance they didn't see it in time, which obviously would have to be Little Women.
Yeah.
Because obviously most people see this completely forgetting this happens every year at SAG and are thinking, oh my god, this is such a magnificent hit for Little Women in the worst way. It's like, no, they probably, because I had heard, obviously this is a different body of people, but I had heard like the critic screeners for Little Women were like half of them were like late or something, like there was a shipping issue. So I don't think Little Women's absence at SAG says really anything at all. So I think that's worth mentioning. I was trying to think if there was something else. Oh, some people panicked about Parasite and The Farewell not being in picture at the Globes, which we learned last year with Roma that apparently they have a rule where they don't put foreign movies in picture for some reason. So neither of those really took a hit with that anyway. Right. So yeah, so we're just kind of all over the damn place, and I don't think any of these really say anything about anything. Like because there's always the stuff that has no precursor support whatsoever. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and say something now, and I'll probably say this again in another week. Despite everything we're looking at right now, my opinion on Willem Dafoe and his chances has not budged. Because this is exactly what he did last year.
It's true.
Something I heard from Grace Randolph on Beyond the Trailer, at least in terms of the Globes, Netflix pumped a shit ton of money to try and influence people. And the most influenced people out of all the award ceremonies are the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. So anything that you see in the Globes could easily be just an anomaly because everybody else doesn't give a shit about Netflix.
That makes the De Niro snub even more bizarre. Like everywhere.
Of course, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but we have to in order to make a point here.
Mm.
I was gonna say, I wasn't sure what you wanted in regards to state of the race because that's what we're here to talk about and as a whole.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the thing that I'm more confused about with this state of the race is we've got Globes, critics, BAFTAs, Spirits, all the major guilds, all the other guilds that won't be counted as sort of the, that we're doing as part of the whole scoring system like we usually do, and the Oscars, all in the space of 7 weeks. Well, realistically, all the awards start from 2 weeks tomorrow with the Globes, going right through to February 9th. What a clusterfuck of a month. Yeah, and yes, I did that to make sure that we are not suitable for kids. Thanks, YouTube.
It's a clusterfuck, but at the same time, I'm hoping it means we're going to see less of awards bodies just copying each other.
Yeah, there's no time to.
Yeah, because I'm just looking. I mean, the Annies are the 25th. The Editing Awards are the 17th. Production Design February 1st. The Cinematographers and the Sound Mixing are both January 25th. Costumes January 28th. Makeup and Hair January 11th. Visual Effects January 29th. Sound Editing January 19th. I think the Writers Guilds are the same. I think they're like the day before the BAFTAs, aren't they? Like February 1st.
I have the calendar in some file somewhere.
Yeah. And then I think like the SAGs are like the week before that. So yeah, there'll be multiple award ceremonies happening at the same time. It's like we're at the wrong one.
Oh, I've also been taking the initiative and trying to make these a little more exciting for myself. I've got some horses in the TV races for once.
Oh, damn it.
And then there's a couple of things where, I mean, a lot of the stuff I watched over the year is here, but I also raced to get caught up on The Good Place and Better Call Saul, and now neither one of them are nowhere to be found. not even Critics' Choice. I think Danson's at Critics' Choice, and like that's it.
So
yeah, well,
starting off with the Globes, I guess.
So But first, Bry Guy says, AJ, remember when you said Ad Astra was going to win visual effects at the Oscars? Well, that's not happening.
Well, okay, what are our fucking space movies? Where is that short list? I have a file with that short list.
I need to go to Oscars.org. It's easier to just go there because I think they just put it all on one webpage.
You know, I feel kind of guilty for thinking this is kind of funny, but the way everybody was freaking out about Taylor Swift's song nomination at the Globes, and they were all, like, her whole fan base was freaking out that this is going to finally be her Oscar nomination. I wonder how much of her fan base knows shortlists exist are going to still be looking for her on nominations day, because they am I losing my mind, or did I see Cats on the visual effects shortlist?
Yeah.
And if so, did that happen?
Yeah. I mean,
that's the
story behind Cats, the fact that, it premiered at 8 p.m. Pacific in LA at basically the same time that Star Wars did. Hooper submitted the cut to, all the classification boards 8 a.m. Pacific time the Sunday before. So literally with 36 hours notice. It was that cut and dry. Even Star Wars was ready like 2 weeks before. It wasn't just like, send it. My career is over. Oh, I've got to go to Variety because the Oscars website doesn't have it. Brilliant. Great job, guys. Have a quick look. The ones that stand out. So the visual effects, it's Alita Battle Angel, Avengers, is that space? Captain Marvel, that's probably space. Cats, Gemini Man, Irishman, Lion King, 1917, Star Wars, and Terminator. There isn't an obvious space.
Obviously the movie was panned, but if we're going by how the Jungle Book did, it could be the Lion King. Especially since apparently the Globes think it's an animated movie, which I don't know how to argue with that. So I don't know.
Disney. The great thing is Disney didn't submit it to anybody as an animated film, and quite a lot of people are putting it in the animated category. So it's like you got a problem there. The great thing is, secretly, I hope Lion King wins because, of course, the company that did it all got shuttered last week. MPC Vancouver, who did all the work on that, and all the work on Cats, and all the work on redesigning Sonic for February, literally got fired and made redundant last week. So I can't wait for them to win, and it's like, nobody's picking up the award because they don't exist. Considering all the issue that we had a few years back when they got played off when they were trying to talk about visual effect, workers' rights, and this is like, oh, this is going to be an awkward one if that happens. Shorts. I mean, there's
Lion King is not submitted for animated feature at the Oscars,
but it'll probably go in as a write-in. At least in terms of songs, Aladdin, The Black Godfather, Breakthrough, The Bronx, USA, Frozen 2 only has one, and it's the weakest one in the film. Harriet, Lego Movie 2, 2 from Lion King, Motherless Brooklyn, Parasite, Rocketman, Toni Morrison, The Pieces I Am, Toy Story 4, and Wild Rose all have songs still in contention. They're part of the 15. Then Score, Avengers, Bombshell, Farewell, Ford v Ferrari, Frozen 2, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, The King, Little Women, Marriage Story, Motherless Brooklyn, 1917, Pain and Glory, Star Wars, and Us. In the makeup and hair, which will go to 5 for the first time in a while, Or no, ever, isn't it? I'm trying to
It
remember.
might. Yeah, it might be.
So the 10 in the shortlist are Bombshell, Dolomite, Downton, Joker, Judy, Little Women, Maleficent, 1917, Once Upon a Time, and Rocketman.
I mean, I'd give it straight to Lithgow and Bombshell just for makeup right then and there.
The foreign one, of course, is interesting because France's official submission is Les Mis, whereas I'm guessing a lot of places are actually going to be having the I can't remember the name, but it's in the Globes list. Ta-da.
Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Yeah, that's the one that a lot of people are saying is actually the better one. So, well done, France. Pain and
Yeah, it's good.
Glory's in there, and Parasite's in there. Those are the sort of three that are going to be in there, and it's, I would argue, and it's, the other two from Czech Republic, Estonia, Hungary, North Macedonia, Poland, Russia, and Senegal. And then Maiden. I mean, out of the ones that I've heard, Maiden, for Sama, and Apollo 11 are probably the big contenders in documentary feature that made it through to the shortlist of 15.
I will be looking at short lists very soon because, in a nice little segue, that's going to be our next podcast at the end of this month, and that's going to be predicting every single category right before the Oscars.
Right before the nominations, that is.
Bry Guy says my favorite song on that list is "I'm Gonna Love Me Again." And Smurfy Boy says is the farewell out of the Oscar race now. We'll get to that. Don't worry.
Again, it's problematic because in the Globes it's seen as a foreign film despite the fact it's American. It's just a lot of it is in Chinese. So they just went, oh, that's foreign. It's got subtitles.
All right, let's get into this discussion, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if I said this since we've been on camera or not, but I'll say it again just in case. I don't want to make it too confusing, but I figured instead of doing the individual award shows, that we would just go across the board by category. So we would be starting with like supporting actress TV. So we would just discuss the three that are in Critics' Choice, and then the Globes, and then go from there. There's two at the bottom of Critics' Choice: animated series and talk show. Does anybody have any stake in that at all?
I haven't looked at the categories yet, so I'm gonna say.
Does anybody give a shit? What's here?
I mean, we have to. They're not even. The funny thing is, neither of them are on the Wikipedia page for Critics' Choice.
Comedy special I'm interested in, because considering 5 out of the 7 are Netflix, if Netflix lose, it's going to be like, what the hell have you done?
Oh, hold on. That's something I might have a stake in. What are the nominees?
Oh, so for comedy special, we've got Amy Schumer's show, Growing, Jenny Slate's Stage Fright, live in front of a studio audience, Norman Lear's Audle and the Family and the Jeffersons for ABC, Rami Youssef's Feelings for HBO, and then the final 3, which are all Netflix: Seth Meyers' Lobby Baby, Trevor Noah's Son of Patricia, and Wanda Sykes' Not Normal.
What?
Yeah, I saw one of those. I saw the Norman Lear thing, and I'm pretty sure that's
the only thing I'm interested in.
I'm pretty sure that's the only thing that's not a stand-up special.
Well, no, because it's comedy special. Yeah. So on the definition of the thing, that wins because all the others are stand-up.
It did. I'm pretty sure it won the Emmy too, so that's a good start.
Might have the best choice. That's the only one I would go for because I wouldn't vote for anything else.
We also had the return of Best Talk Show, this time being Desu Sumero, Forefront with Samantha Bee, Kelly Clarkson Show, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, The Late Late Show with that fucking cat, and Late Night with Seth Meyers.
Is Fallon that irrelevant now? Hey, can any of these other talk show marks say they have a ride attached to them? No, they cannot.
given that we're on YouTube, we're obliged to say, why isn't Lily Singh on there? And then go, oh, wait, the rest of YouTube has told us why Lily Singh isn't on there.
I shoot have no idea who you're talking about, so there.
Oh, she's the YouTuber that they gave her a talk show, which everybody watches at 2 in the morning because that's a really good time for a talk show.
Yeah, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm either watching Bruce Pritchard or Funhouse.
She's already on an uphill battle. I feel sorry for the situation that she's in.
Bright Guy says 4 of the animated series nominations are from Netflix. One of them is not Green Eggs and Ham.
Yeah, Big Mouth, BoJack, Dark Crystal, She-Ra, along with Fox's The Simpsons and Undone from Amazon.
Okay.
Thing is, they're actually pretty good. Although, where is Tuca and Birdie?
All these shows that I remember hearing so many great things about that have been like pushed down our throats for many years, like South Park and Family Guy and Bob's Burgers, are nowhere now.
In terms of the rest of the stuff, I'm trying. Is like everybody that's in the critics TV categories carry over to the Globes or not? Have you been able to cross-reference?
Which category are we talking about?
Well, I was going to go through the order, so supporting actress in anything.
This show is going to last 4 hours if we do it and continue at this pace.
I guess the problem is for the Globes, it's like they bundle them all together and then they're actually separate for the Critics' Choice. It's like, God, son of a bitch.
Yeah, and then SAG combines leading and supporting, so...
Why don't we just go I understand where you're trying to go with, AJ, but...
We'll do whatever you think is cleaner.
I don't know anymore, because if we had like a Corb in front of us, which King of the Ring board, that's for you, Ashley. If we had a list in front of us right now,
I'm Lord Alfred
told me
Hayes.
all.
Where's my stick?
Exactly. Promotional consideration paid for by the following: ProWrestlingTees.com. Anyway, here's the thing. The reason I see that is because if we had a big list in front of us that told us, like, this is the body, this is the person, and this is the nomination, and we went across, that makes sense. But I don't have anything in front of me except for my laptop. So it's kind of like, nope, it's not really working very well. So, I mean, I guess we could do it that way. We're trying to make sure we maximize our time, so we don't go like 7 hours, because this isn't a wrestling podcast or an next podcast.
If you want to do them individually, I'd say we'd go Critics' Choice, then Globe, and then end on SAG.
Yeah.
You want to just touch on the Spirit Awards first, though?
Oh yeah, we forgot them again.
We'll do that first.
I will not let you turn down the KFC Awards, sir, in the tent. No way. The KFC 10 Awards will be spoken about. Even though I went to the SAG Awards instead.
I mean, despite the fact that Critics' Choice has so many categories, I feel like we can get through it quickly because, like I said, we don't want to turn it into a prediction video just yet, but it's like everything that could possibly be here is here. I mean, we can't talk about who's not here and who is and for what reason because they just throw everybody in.
Yeah.
Even if there's no room, they'll just expand the category however they like.
It's in a gaming reference. It's the Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. It's like everything is here.
I mean, I don't want to reuse what I say every year, but I mean, seriously, a Critics' Choice nomination is just a fucking participation award.
Yeah, like most of them are 7. Some of them weren't 7 last year that have now expanded to 7. Some of them are 8. It's like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, something that is a Critics' Choice that isn't anywhere else is that miniseries Years and Years.
Yeah.
Which I didn't see. But a friend told me, she said it's like extremely emotionally exhausting.
Yeah.
Which immediately makes me surprised that it's not anywhere else, if that's the case.
It's from Russell T Davies, from the first few seasons of Doctor Who, and Queer as Folk and other stuff, so it's probably going to be emotional as hell.
Because apart from Emma Thompson for Years and Years and producer Arquette for The Act and supporting actress for miniseries or TV movie. These are ones that I've actually seen. I'm in the middle of Fosse Verdon. I'm watching on Hulu, and I just watched the first episode that has Margaret Qualley in it, which didn't give me really much of a taste of anything at all. So I don't know if she deserves to be here or not, but given the part that she's eventually going to be playing, I imagine it's relatively juicy. Despite the fact that she's also not anywhere else. Actually, the only people here that continue on are Patricia Arquette, Toni Collette, and Emily Watson. Because for some reason, When They See Us got fucking gypped everywhere. I don't know if, like, did the Globes just not watch When They See Us? Like, what the fuck happened?
I guess it was like, nah, there's too much Netflix.
Because When They See Us is, like, powerful shit. Like, I'm not surprised at all there's as many people here as there is.
The Globes are like, you made a Stitch in Time. Excluded from the list. If you can tell, I didn't enjoy that. And then the weird thing as well with supporting actor is I'm surprised how popular Catch-22's been. Because like, when it was over here, people were like,
Yeah, it seems like it was a big deal leading up to its like release, and then once it was out, it's like it just didn't matter.
It existed. It was there.
I haven't gotten to it yet, but I was kind of interested. But I don't know. I am a little seeing Jesse Plemons here for El Camino makes me like upset that that's pretty much all El Camino has done. I think it's in for limited series or TV movie, but other than that, it's nowhere to be found anywhere, which is a magnificent shame. I keep using magnificent in a negative context for some reason, but that's just the way it is.
SAG has it nowhere. I think the Globes. No, the Globes sort of snubbed it as well. Yeah.
So yeah, the only person Critics' Choice has for supporting actor as far as miniseries or TV movie is Stellan Skarsgård, who I believe has gotten in everywhere.
I think so. I think he's in.
Yeah, the only place he didn't make it is SAG, and that's
SAG didn't. But they went with Jared Harris instead.
Which is a good call. Like, there's not really a bad choice.
Then again, that's actor. They don't have a supporting for SAG, by the looks of it, for TV.
Yeah, it's so weird to see the supporting and leading actors like competing at SAG. It's always just like how
confusing as fuck.
Just like how I feel like Andrew Scott's going to have a really good year because that character's pretty much iconic at this point. But it's like he's up against like all the leading actors.
To some respect, anything Andrew Scott's done over the last 7 years has been iconic. His Moriarty and Sherlock, you know. People were saying a lot of good things when he did a revival of Present Laughter on the West End over here. He just really gets into it. So much so, he was literally taking free G&Ts to people queuing outside Phoebe Waller-Bridge's West End revival of the original Fleabag play. Because he's into it.
The thing that makes me pleased about Fleabag is if Fleabag does what I'm thinking and hoping it does, we're gonna finally get to see the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel get its ass kicked. That's gonna be because Alex Borstein made Critics' Choice, but she didn't make anywhere else.
Yeah, because they wait, no, did she? Oh no, they didn't do supporting actress. I guess that makes sense because they're trying to do. Wow, there's really no comedies or anything in the supporting at the Globes. It's all serious stuff. The one thing I guess we can talk about is how SAGs went for Apple's morning show, and
Yeah.
nobody else sort of did.
It's
I mean, no, it did make it in for the Globes for actress, but it didn't make it in for show like it did. I think did it make it in for show for ensemble?
no,
No, it didn't.
which is weird since they went for Billy Crudup and Carell. Yeah, even with all the categories they have and all the slots they have, Critics' Choice went for Billy Crudup, but Carell's not there at all.
It's also interesting that SAG's got Game of Thrones, and I don't think anything else has, or is Critics' Choice, because I'm just looking at the Globes at the minute.
Yeah, maybe it's just my opinion of Game of Thrones, but it's like I almost feel like they thought that was mandatory.
No, Game of Thrones is in for drama series.
Like it's an ensemble at SAG, and then they went with Dinklage, while Globes went with fucking Kit Harington. I have no opinion on that. I think Gwendolyn Christie's in fucking Critics' Choice for some reason, but yeah.
On the actress drama front, it is interesting how, arguably in all three, it's probably going to be a 2-horse race between Coleman and Comer. Do you go with the one that maybe got overshadowed last year by what's her name? That's with her in fucking Killing Eve.
Sandra Oh.
Yeah, Sandra Oh. Because it's like Sandra Oh is nowhere to be seen. Jodie Comer's got a lot more praise this time round.
That's kind of. There's one decision SAG made, and I don't know how to feel about it. I am all for anything that the miniseries Unbelievable gets. But I mean, even though she's probably going to lose everything to Michelle Williams anyway, Caitlin Dever should be everywhere. Like, Caitlin Dever in Unbelievable is like one of the best performances of the year in any medium. And SAG went with Toni Collette instead, which is really bizarre to me. And it's another case of, I know, like, SAG has the decency to be kind of whittled down a little bit for time, but it's weird how much they seem to half-ass the TV categories. And it's otherwise, before I got invested in some TV shows, I didn't give a shit about that. It was better that they were condensed. But now I'm seeing the kind of atrocity that they are. Yeah, it's almost the way they have it cut down is a little too cut down. But yeah,
That's fair. Yeah, I actually talked. Greg Guy says, "Why do critics' choices do that?" That's from earlier.
that could be in reference to anything.
Yeah, Smurfy Boy says,
Well,
"Why does SAG?"
So many questions about why Critics' Choice does anything that they do.
Agreed. Why does SAG not have an ensemble category for limited series or movie?
Yeah, I do not know. Like I said, it's like when they were creating the categories, they got bored and they like gave up towards the end, and then they just stuck with it for all these years.
This is why we have consistent 2, 3, 4-hour award shows because of things like this, and they still don't air everything.
I'm also fully caught up on Barry and the Kaminsky Method, and I love both of those also. So it's one of those cases where it's like there's not a wrong choice.
I'll be going with my normal, hey, this makes sense in my head. I have nothing to support this choice. I'm just going to go with it anyway.
Yeah, I'm always terrible when it comes to predicting TV, so I'm wondering if there'll be any difference in me having actually seen some of the shit now. It's just the stuff I'm interested in. Like, I haven't watched The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel or anything. Or The Crown. But, yeah.
I've been behind on things, obviously, as you know. I'm still frustrated in this Parasite.
Obviously through videos, obviously I have a little stake in Big Little Lies.
Mm.
But yeah, I figure once Ashley comes back, we can probably just start with movies to get going.
Yeah, we kind of need to. Nothing. I look at the Spirit Awards and everything, and I don't really not out of the ordinary. Just glancing at the categories. Lots of love for Marriage Story, Uncut Gems, and The Farewell.
Yeah,
Not as much.
Critics' Choice. Critics' Choice loved Uncut Gems.
Yeah, I can tell. We'll get to that. Weirdly enough, I'm very surprised that we don't have as much for stuff like The Lighthouse and Honey Boy Missing Feature is weird to me.
Well, Critics' Choice has always been weird because they're the ones that, like, remember, especially when it gets closer into the Oscar race, the more you look back on it, the more weird it is. Like how, like, what wasn't when, it was Brie Larson was either was she like the only nomination for Room for the Spirit Awards or something like that?
I believe so.
Sounds.
And then there's always the case of, remember before the Hurt Locker's Momentum, the Hurt Locker was at the Spirit Awards the year before and it lost to The Wrestler.
Yeah, it did.
The Spirit Awards were pretty weird.
In actuality, The Wrestler is uncrowned Best Picture at the Oscars.
Because the thing about the Spirit Awards is that, number one, it's nice that they're mostly actually independent movies now that Weinstein's out of the equation.
It's bad rubbish.
But there's also the case of, you can tell because the Spirit Awards are like the first ones to come out apart from Gotham, and you can tell they're like kind of doing their own thing. It's only when it's time for winners and all the other awards have passed that they decide they want to be like everybody else.
Right.
So
I love the fact that
the nominations look really weird in retrospect a lot of the time.
There's some titles here where it's like, this is the only nomination they're probably going to get. There was when they do one of the secret or mystery screenings at one of my local places, which is shutting down in 2 weeks because they want to turn it into a hotel. Thanks, landlord. They were saying, "Oh, here's this award contender, Lucy, or Luce. I can't remember how it's pronounced." Which is in for Best Director, at least with the Spirits. And it's like, yeah, it's not going to get anything else, though, is it?
To be fair, AJ's been talking about that movie for a while now, so.
Mm.
Yeah, like I was saying, with
Same with Waves.
With Bombshell getting an ensemble at SAG, I finally got my fucking Lithgow nomination. That's as good as it's going to get.
Right Guy says, especially with Ashley's British bias he goes with.
Well, I'm not giving away stuff. There is some on these. Some of them I'm being tugged away from it, though. For some of the obvious ones.
Bright Guy says, speaking of Honey Boy, you guys heard the again.
What happened?
Yeah, you entirely cut out there.
Did I hear the director? Hang on, I need to go to.
How are we having issues? I'm completely fine on my end.
It might be my internet.
Probably. The director of Honey Boy is complaining about no women directors at the Globes.
Okay, yeah, I want to talk about that for a second. I don't want to seem too eager, but and Owen doesn't look happy because he knows where I'm taking this.
I know where I'm taking this.
Okay, I haven't seen Little Women yet. I know this. So I can't say anything judgmental about Gerwig's work. But when I saw the particular headlines complaining that the Globes didn't put in a female director like they did when Gerwig was in contention for Lady Bird, the headline said the same thing. They were all freaking out that Greta Gerwig wasn't nominated. Thus, there wasn't a woman nominated. But there's only one problem. I know there's Mario Heller for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. There is the director of Honey Boy. I'm still sticking with this. People can say about where the farewell is in this race or whatever. But if there is any female director that is missing and was snubbed more than anybody else, it was fucking Lulu Wang. And I don't know, the press is hard on with Greta Gerwig getting Best Director nominations. And it's, I mean, I've heard that there is like a different creative style to Little Women, where it's like Little Women is obviously a period movie, but it's like even though it's a period movie, she like modernized it in a way or something like that. But I mean, Lulu Wang feels like the one that's getting the shit into the stick when it comes to that more than anybody else. And Heller did amazing things with Viva in the Neighborhood too. So it's like the criticism is there, but there's way too much focus on just Gerwig herself.
Think what even bigger criticism there may have been if the nominations included her husband for Marriage Story.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, well, why isn't his wife in? Damn it!
Yeah, I have them both getting in. What's your point?
No, there was something else I wanted to say, but I'm afraid that I'll be like, jinxing something. But I already said this to Owen, and it's like I'm shaking in happiness because Parasite is definitely in this. Like, without a doubt, Parasite is in this. But there's been talk for a long time that the top 3 contenders are Marriage Story, The Irishman, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Easily.
Which Parasite is quickly breaking its way into. But if we're just talking about those 3, you'll notice Baumbach misses director at the Globes, and De Niro is getting snubbed left and right. So I just want to point out that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has not taken a hit yet. And that's all I want to say about that.
I am annoyed at Parasite. I am annoyed.
I'm annoyed I didn't get to see it.
Because I have to declare it at the minute my favourite film of 2020. I saw it on Monday. It doesn't release here until February the 7th.
So it's going to be a Shape of Water situation.
Yes. By God, yes. I'm literally saying, if it isn't top 3 next year, holy fuck, something's going to have to be really good to get it out of that top 3. If not top 1.
And what I love about this also is when we see, because obviously we had Roma last year, which is the closest a foreign movie's ever come to winning. What's really interesting to me is, and this isn't, like foreign movies in general, but the ones the Academy tends to take to, how exciting is it that we have a foreign movie in the Oscar race that's doing this well, that isn't like some family drama or some emotionally draining thing. It's a black comedy thriller thing. Like, that's kind of amazing. And I think that's what makes it how it's been so accessible throughout the season, is the kind of movie that it is.
My only issue with it is it's so witty and good with the translation into English that somebody's gonna go, I'm gonna make a Western remake of it, and it's gonna lose everything.
No Untouchables, no.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying it's crazy it hasn't been greenlit yet, but it probably will inevitably happen. But then again, yeah, you say The Untouchables, it could be the upside, but we could also get another Departed out of it.
That's true.
So remakes aren't always a bad thing, but I mean, yeah, Parasite did what it did so well. It's hard to tell how one could top that if they tried. Especially waiting to say, like, Infernal Affairs got a Scorsese movie.
A new Domino's pizza opened near me, so they've got cheap pizzas. I am literally keeping the boxes just so every time I predict Parasite in anything, I just pick up the box and spin it, and it's just like, I don't need to do it. It'll be my Mark for fucking Foxcatcher from ages, and Will It Help for fucking Rylance.
Do not forget Hot Day.
Hot damn.
No one on this
There's
chat
one
will
every
let you
year.
Hot damn ever.
There's one every year. And this week, it's a pizza box.
Here's the thing, though. We talk about Parasite being in this, and it sounds like it is. I'm going to eat a lot of crow really soon. When it comes down to it, I want it to be, because that's when my theater has to bring it to the theater.
True. I would say, once again, I don't want to say too much, but it's like, if anybody was going to remake Parasite, it would probably be Peele. Only trouble is Peele already made that movie this year, kind of. In a little bit.
Yeah, to some extent, yeah.
So, Smurfy Boy says, if Parasite or Bombshell overperform, I could see Lithgow or Song Kang-ho taking that 5th spot in supporting actor.
Yeah, but I still I almost want to go with Song Kang-ho, but it's like I'm not letting go of this Defoe thing. He is waiting in the wings like he was last year. I know. I always say don't speak in absolutes, which I totally just did. But
What
I
happens
mean,
sometimes?
yeah. So I've not lost faith in Defoe, and I'm not losing faith in Banderas either. But
And
we'll get to that.
keep in mind as
I'm not
well,
losing faith in someone either.
the Netflix way on a lot of this is, at least with the Globes, is probably going to depart. I don't see Netflix having it's three contenders out of a top for 5 for drama. I guess out of a lot of them, 4 out of the 10, if you consider that being the 10 or whatever that get put forward for the Oscars, which it probably won't. I'd say maximum of maybe 2.
We'll see.
I was gonna say something else, but there's no organization now. Like as far as talking about specific awards. But while we're also on the topic, I guess we can throw out. There's one movie that the Globes went for completely. They went all in on that no other awards body has at all. And the question is that due to the late release? Like we were talking about how Little Women came in too late. Otherwise, it probably would have. We know the state of Florence Pugh at this point. Ronan would probably be in the Lupita slot, if I had to guess.
No. Don't you dare. Talking about hanging on to something.
And Little Women probably would have made ensemble.
I'd say so.
The question is was the Two Popes late to get there, or is it just the Globes they're crazy about it?
Again, it's Netflix paying a shit ton of money, I think, that is the influence.
But here's the thing, Ashley. If that ends up becoming true, then that vote, isn't that basically tampering with the voting?
Yeah, and the Hollywood Foreign Press Association don't give a shit. If that basically comes out, Ricky Gervais hosting this year again is going to be fucking interesting.
It's the word tampering is crossed out with a Sharpie, and then they wrote campaigning in its place.
So basically, it's like the movie poster for The Report. If it was done in the George W. Bush,
it'll be
by Will Ferrell.
It'll be report. Instead. It'll be report mixed with Parasite because all the eyes will be redacted over, like in the Parasite poster as well, of the actors that win for Netflix.
Smurfy Boy says, I'm putting Taron Egerton in my best actor lineup because I think he can get nominated and actually win at BAFTA. I think even if he gets on at BAFTA, I don't think he's in this because there's too many people that are an actor right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay behind my theory that they probably feel like they've done that enough with Rami Malek winning everything last year.
True.
There's also the case of there's just so much going on in actor. It would be I said this when I reviewed it over the summer, but it still stands. I don't really get the love for Rocket Man in general. And I know I'm probably not allowed to say that as somebody that liked Bohemian Rhapsody because the popular thing is Rocket.
We saw what the screenwriter did to Cats. It's weird how the guy that brought us Rocket Man is the same person that brought us that version of Cats. Just like... That's a
belter. You see that video that's floating around that called out the scene in 6 Degrees of Separation where Will Smith goes on a whole tirade about how stupid it would be to make a movie out of cats, and Ian McKellen is in that scene.
Hey, he just took the paycheck. He's a smart motherfucker.
So is Jason Lee. Moving on.
Uh, so I guess we're just talking about whatever comes to mind.
Yeah.
The one thing I'd be interested in is to whether it gets enough momentum is the Dolomite situation. Because I made it as a joke, and it's like, no, he's actually in for, musical or comedy actor.
See,
Yeah,
he's him. AJ, you're gonna probably say about the same thing I was gonna say at this point.
well, my question was, assuming the farewell would be here if they didn't do the foreign movie can't get in picture bullshit for the Globes, would it have knocked out Rocket Man or Dolomite?
Probably Dolomite.
But you see, this is a hard thing to do because last year with Globe drama, we would have said like, if they, we may have even said this. Probably, if they put Roma in drama, what would it have bumped out? We all probably would have said Bohemian Rhapsody, and it fucking won.
No, I was so heavy into that. I was probably the only one that wouldn't have said Bohemian Rhapsody.
So yeah, the Globes make that impossible because remember the Globes are also the ones that gave picture comedy to Grand Budapest Hotel over Birdman.
That was a fun night. I remember that very vividly.
That partially though is also, wait, why is it in that category? Because Birdman isn't out and out comedy.
Bry Guy says, "Oh yeah, heads up for all of you pointing those fingers." Big 8 movie and said hello to Joker.
You wanna say that one more time?
No, I'll go.
Thanks, British. Anyway,
Okay. Yeah, basically,
Bry
Guy said that he's got rid of Avengers Endgame from his sort of list now. He's finally got off the Thanos bandwagon.
Josephine DeMarco says Thomasin McKenzie is more worthy of a supporting actress nomination than Scarlett Johansson. Weirdly enough, I had McKenzie in my original Best Actress lineup, and yay, that didn't happen.
No, well, Mackenzie's good, but she's not that good.
And the fact as well that Roman Griffin Davis actually makes it in as well.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah,
I like that actually a lot.
The great thing is, I think that means that at least in the Critics' Choice for the young thing, it's like half of them are just Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah.
Ashley.
Yeah.
Ashley, do you want to take over the chat then?
I'll do my best to. Yeah, Josephine continues on saying, considering the foreign influx at the Academy, does Zhao Shuzhen still have a chance for supporting?
Absolutely, yes.
I'd say so.
I'd say so.
She has Marina de Tavira written all over her.
Looking at the Critics' Choice there, I sort of like. I mean, I haven't seen Marriage Story yet because I gave up on seeing it in the cinema because it's like too much to travel and too costly, and
I'm just too lazy to hit play. Apparently,
maybe I'm just waiting like for when it wins these awards that suddenly the independent cinema near me goes, oh, we better show it now. People might want to see it. They did it for The Irishman. They didn't bother for Marriage Story, despite the fact it probably had more excitement about it.
Yeah, I was prepared to be like, I was ready to be upset when I saw that they snubbed Laura Dern at the Globes for Big Little Lies, but then it was like, well, nominating her for Marriage Story is pretty much the same thing. It's basically the same character, which is probably going to help her at places like Globe and SAG.
Smurfy Boy brings up Scarlett Johansson saying everybody's saying she's Winslet was reader.
Yeah.
And Revolutionary Road, but she only got Best Actress at the Oscars.
I don't think the double nomination is, that bad of a consideration.
Well, you remember what happened the last time there was a double nomination at SAG?
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen for her by any means. I don't think, number one, I don't think she's going to win, and I don't think she's going to be snubbed entirely by the Oscars. So that's probably a whole anomaly in itself. But I just wanted to bring last year's SAG Awards up again for no reason at all.
Is in LA
AJ, you
Noir.
want to bring up that elephant statue you had the other day?
In LA Noir, I am now pressing the X button, which is doubt.
Can Portrait of a Lady on Fire get in for other despite not being Francis' submission?
Cinematography. Absolutely.
That I'd say is the big one.
That's what Josephine said too.
But cinematography has a chance to be a bloodbath as well, because everybody's getting murdered. The Crime Watch theme is going to make so much sense now for Roger Deakins' watch, because he's going to murder the competition. He's going to win.
Speaking of in terms of WGA, The Two Popes is original over there, and The Farewell and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is ineligible.
Well, remember, Tarantino is always ineligible because he's like not a part of the guild or something.
Right.
See, I don't even like. We were talking about how
what's Ford versus Ferrari? do we have the official, like, what the fuck is it?
I don't know. When I was talking about there's decisions I make every day, that fifth slot in original screenplay is like a fucking revolving door in my mind. I have no idea what's getting that fifth slot in it. It's down to like there will be days when Uncut Gems seems absolutely certain. Then there's days where Knives Out seems absolutely certain. Then I saw Ford vs. Ferrari again a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I feel like this could overperform. And then a week later, that was totally out of my mind.
Josephine says, am I the only one who hated Marriage Story?
Who said that?
Josephine.
I can totally understand. Like, I really like it, but I can totally understand somebody hating it. Where it's like, probably for the same reasons people don't like Revolutionary Road, when it's just like, there's really only one scene that's like really shouty, and it's much more of like a Kramer versus Kramer type thing.
I'm pretty sure as well there were people that hated Squid and the Whale.
Yeah, I like to think those people don't.
There's a whole lot of verses in this conversation.
I like to think people that hate the Squid and the Whale don't exist, but I'm almost positive they do, because as we saw with Francis Ha, it just depends on how you feel about Baumbach sometimes. But it's interesting that he seems like the kind of director that you either love or hate, but he has stuff that I love and stuff that I hate. So it's like, I'm curious if there's people that like if there's people that exist that all out hate everything he's ever done. Because it seems like he's got the same style, and you can point out one of his moves from a mile away, but sometimes he does him greatly, and then other times Francis Ha happens. So
I'm just gonna stay here and keep reading this chat. AJ, did you still have Meryl Streep?
I don't, but I still wouldn't be surprised because I was relieved because there was a headline. Because I thought I was like insane, and I was the only person that knows that fucking performance exists. But I did see when the Globes came out a headline, and they're like the biggest snubs of the Globes, and the first thing there was a picture of Streep in the laundromat. So it's like, okay, I'm not insane. Somebody else acknowledges that performance is there. But no, when time comes around, I probably will not have her in. But here's the thing: is let's talk about supporting actress while we're on the topic. So there's something else I've been saying that I've been just as adamant about as I was about Streep before, and that was Lopez's turnout.
Mm-hmm.
So there's somebody else that's in this conversation, and okay, here's the thing: is I don't want to go based on like I don't want to automatically say just because something happened in another year, it can totally happen again exactly that way. But the stars keep aligning with an example that I used last time we talked about this. And it's somebody I was going to go with anyway, especially after having seen the movie. And then it wasn't until afterwards that the pieces fell together again. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen exactly this way just because it happened before. I'm just saying it's a little weird. I kept comparing Jennifer Lopez to Mila Kunis for Black Swan. Because for some reason, I'm totally convinced Lopez will not make it. And Lopez has made Globe, and Lopez has made SAG. Just like Mila Kunis did. And then Mila Kunis got bumped out by a veteran actress that only had Globe going in Jackie Weaver and Animal Kingdom. There is another veteran actress that I feel really confident about that so far only has Globe going in, and that is Kathy Bates for Richard Jewell. So,
But with the Richard Jewell, is the Olivia Wilde statements going to possibly tar that?
normally I would say probably, but after Green Book and Bohemian Rhapsody,
Who the shit knows?
I'm starting to wonder if smear campaigns even work anymore after Bohemian Rhapsody and Green Book did what they did.
Well,
Green Book and Bohemian Rhapsody were the two movies people went after the most with controversies last year, and Bohemian Rhapsody ended up getting the most wins of the night, and Green Book won Picture. So I don't know how controversies work anymore.
Once upon a time, I guess, similar situation. And Joker. But they're still in there. If that's the case, then a fucking loudest voice is going to win everything. Despite that's been proved that was factually incorrect.
I almost watched The Loudest Voice, and then I decided not to. I figured Bombshell would do the job.
From what I've heard, Bombshell is more accurate to the truth than some of the stupid shit that was made up for Loudest Voice. So
somehow I'm not surprised. While we're also on supporting actress, I would like to talk about Margot Robbie. And you said you saw Bombshell as well.
Last night, actually.
I don't know if Ashley has or not.
It's not out till January 17th.
Were you thinking the same thing I was? Where it was like, I was watching it. She seems like, before I saw Bombshell, I wasn't predicting Robbie, but I am now.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is the whole movie was going, and it was like, she's barely in it. And I was like, it's the same complaint people had about her Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
She's Judi Dench.
But then it's like she has the big scene in the office, and it's like, okay, very downplayed, but okay, I can kind of see that. And then she gets one more big scene, and it's like, oh, if that was her only scene in the movie, she would get in.
Totally, 100% agreed.
Now, I said the same thing about her last scene in Mary Queen of Scots, and she ended up getting snubbed. So, but I feel like if she can be, because she's a lot more consistent this year than she was last year, and she's got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood to back her up. So
yeah, exactly. That's the reason why she's gonna get in. Obviously, she's fresh in everybody's minds.
And I was saying that Annette Bening's buzz was dead. She's got Globe.
I need to look into this in a bit.
Weirdly, I can actually watch that one because that's getting me even more confusing. I was like really excited for Aeronauts to coming to streaming this past Friday. Turns out, because they actually did a proper cinema release over here, we have to wait until February because of the whole 16 weeks thing. So it's like, well, there goes Christmas. That was going to be something we're going to watch. Everything said worldwide. Thanks, E1, you bastards.
So Josephine has a question and a comment. She says, "Do you think Adam Sandler has a shot for Best Actor?"
I don't think. Here's the thing about actor: is it's so crazy. I don't think anybody's out.
No, but
because obviously Bale's doing the same thing he always does. Where it's like,
told you.
Oh, no, he's probably not in this. He's a little on the. Obviously, he was in for Vice, but we're talking about like The Big Short and American Hustle, where there were questions.
Don't remind me about American Hustle, please.
Considering that, did he make it in SAG? I doubt it. Considering most of the people in the Academy are actors and actresses, I'd say with that you can't rule him out.
But it's so.
Because the thing is,
in here now.
Because when we're looking at SAG, I don't have faith in Taron Egerton. I made that obvious, but it's like, because you also think about De Niro, and it's like, yeah, De Niro hasn't made it yet, but they're gonna love The Irishman, obviously. So De Niro's always there, but it's like, so you've got Bale, you got De Niro, Murphy's still hanging around. And yeah, Sandler's here about as much as Murphy is, and it could honestly be any of those people. I feel like it's like we've seen. It's like with Defoe last year, it could be somebody that's not even on the map yet, for all we know. So anybody that's been mentioned is still possible, given that there is technically an open slot.
Yeah.
And Sandler, even though Sandler has only gotten Critics' Choice so far, he's getting built up so much, and his movie isn't even in wide release yet. So it's definitely not impossible. And honestly, I would, even still being blind on Uncut Gems for the next 4 days, it would just kind of be a crazy thing to see, and to think that how possible it actually is almost just makes me want to see it.
It's like Sandler, for example. Like AJ will know where I'm going with this. I mean, Punch Drunk Love, and that's a fantastic performance that not enough people have gotten to see.
Yeah, everybody tends to go towards Reign Over Me, but I feel like Reign Over Me feels way too much like failed Oscar bait. It's definitely Punch Drunk Love is the one you want to go to for the best example of that.
And I like Funny People as well. Obviously.
Punch Drunk was the first one where it's like, oh no, he's legitimately an actor. He doesn't just do goofball comedies. You know,
yeah, like going back.
When Paul Thomas Anderson hires you as a lead, no matter who you are, you're obviously doing something right.
Right. It makes sense. Josephine continues saying, I'm not a Baumbach fan nor a Gerwig fan. I hate on Baumbach. Star Wars marks hate on Ryan Johnson.
See, I'm a Star Wars fan, and I didn't hate that. I hate more of what George Lucas did by just cashing in. You think George Lucas now, after having seen the new trilogy, is like, what the shit did they do? I mean, we know that from the start, because he gave him ideas for Episode 7, and JJ was like, no, let's do this. Let's try and do our own version of it. And then, of course, JJ was like, I don't want to direct Episode 8. So he was the cause of why everybody hated Episode 8, when you think about it. It wasn't Ryan doing the directing, it was like JJ going... Well, JJ basically said, use these ideas, and Ryan said no, which is exactly what JJ did with George, so it's like... Everyone's to blame. The person you blame is Kathleen Kennedy. Somebody that doesn't even like Star Wars being in charge of Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far on this tangent, but just to add to that, and I'm speaking in the heat of the moment. Maybe there's something I'm not thinking of, but there is nothing in The Last Jedi that is worse than them adding Vader screaming no to the Blu-ray of Return of the Jedi when he kills the Emperor. That is the worst decision they have ever made.
No,
in that entire thing.
Surely the worst is McClunky. Thanks, Disney Plus. McClunky.
Him screaming no when he kills the Emperor is worse than Jedi Rocks. And I will stand by that. So,
Smurfy Boy says, the problem with Marriage Story, people have built it as the second coming of Kramer versus Kramer.
Yeah, I do think... I'd almost think if a movie was going to be more susceptible to hype, it would be Parasite.
So what we're saying is marriage. On that logic, Marriage Story technically is a win for Meryl Streep, because it is Kramer versus Kramer 2, Electric Boogaloo.
But then it's interesting how it's very realistic that Marriage Story is getting that kind of like the hype is being too much almost, and it makes it even more interesting that Parasite seems to be immune to its own hype. Like, I rarely hear people say Parasite doesn't live up to the hype, and Parasite is probably the most hyped movie of this year, is it not? It's definitely up there.
The fact that it's still 10
weeks. It lasted in the cinema for 3 days, AJ.
10 weeks in the chart.
3 days. That's why it lasted in our cinema for 3 days.
10 weeks in the chart, $20 million. Consistently sort of... I mean, it's not got into the top 10 yet, but the fact it's consistently still, like, just before that top 10.
Oscars had an organization as a category. Josephine says cats would lose.
I mean, looking at the numbers for the last week's releases, um, if I can find it, Parasite took more money per screen than Richard Jewell, Ford versus Ferrari, which is in its 5th week.
Which we have.
Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood in its 4th week.
Which we have.
Lighthouse, which is in its 9th week.
It's gone.
JoJo in its 9th, but it's still got to go wide this coming week, hasn't it? Or has it already gone wide?
Which one's that?
Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah, that was I was thinking that was a while back.
I lose track. But a lot of other war contenders around it, and it still took more money despite the fact it's in only 300 screens. It's on a par with Queen and Slim, and that was in like 1,500 last week.
Which we have. Basically, the rule is please bring Parasite back to a theater I can see it at. I promise I'll go this time.
We're in the big categories, but do you want to go back a minute?
Before we go any...
There's actually a category I have a comment on that's a category I usually don't give a shit about. But what were you about to say?
Well, I have some comments in the chat before we go any further into the actual
go ahead.
question. So Bright Guy says Parasite getting a SAG Ensemble nod is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Smurfy Boy says Parasite's in a better position than Roma, right?
Well, it doesn't. People keep wanting to say Netflix is a hindrance. Yeah, it doesn't have that.
Yeah, I mean, over here, it's going to Uncut Gems is going to have the thing because internationally, it's going to be only on Netflix, with the limited releases just to be able to get it considered for like those awards, like BAFTA. Otherwise,
Bright Guy,
$9.99 a month, bitches.
No. Bright Guy says, am I feeling another Hank snub again? God, I hope not.
I can't. It's in the back of my mind. I'm trying to ignore it, but it's there.
Considering it's supporting rather than leading, less so, but there is obviously that possibility.
Especially since there's a clear open spot in the category with him there. You would think he's fine, but there is that doubt for some reason.
I don't see what the doubt's coming from, though.
I think mainly because
Meryl Streep was in doubt.
This is why these shows go 4 hours, folks.
I think probably because he's so clearly fourth when it comes to Pitt, Pesci, and Pacino.
Mm-hmm.
Makes him seem automatically vulnerable. But I don't know. I'd like to think there's that one slot, that better be Defoe slot. Because I don't think how weird is it that August Me, the Me back in August was all about De Niro getting snubbed and Jamie Foxx getting in. It's like, was I predicting SAG by accident?
Possibly.
I don't think Jamie Foxx is going to get any farther. I think that's kind of an anomaly. Because that's the thing, too.
Trailer looks good, though.
With how crazy nominations get and stuff coming out of nowhere, it used to be, back in the day, SAG had the obvious choices and then the clearly weird choices. But now we never know anymore what's a weird choice and what's taking off after SAG. Like, which of these is Armie Hammer and J. Edgar? I don't think Kidman's going any farther. I think SAG just loves her in general.
Plus the fact that the snub as well could happen because next year Tom Hanks is in a Paul Greengrass film. What?
That's very exciting.
Josephina asks if Best Director should have 10 nominations.
Well, this year that might be warranted. I don't know about every other year ever. Oh, the category I was going to jump back to is animated.
Mm.
Because usually I don't give a
Category
shit.
I have zero stake in this year.
But I have a question, and I wonder if anybody else is thinking the same thing or not. Obviously, Toy Story 4 is at the front.
Mm-hmm.
I Lost My Body is getting a lot of attention. As far as the other like foreign one, I've heard Weathering with You is something that's like really impressive. Then you've got How to Train Your Dragon. I know Missing Link seems a bit off the radar, but I honestly would be uncomfortable betting against Leica.
Yeah, well,
Exactly.
because of the animation style. Considering, at least when you look at the Globes list, you've got animated, Lion King, and animated. Missing Link's the only one that's sort of part CGI animated, but also practical animation, stop motion style stuff. And they always like to have, at least with the Academy, they try to acknowledge more than one variety of making animation, of which arguably Missing Link stands out, because obviously Shaun the Sheep isn't eligible because it doesn't release in America till January. Even though I don't think it's as good as the first film personally, having seen it a couple of months ago.
It would be hard to be.
Yeah, it's still good, but I mean, you know. Plus, this year obviously we don't have Isle of Dogs, you know, which arguably was that contender last year.
So, based on all this, my question is based on, because it almost seems like it's based on name value alone. Are people too confident in Frozen here? Because what I'm looking at and the stuff that I think can probably make it, I don't think Frozen is there. And I feel like if it is, it would almost be solely on its name value.
But here's the thing. What do we have of a chance that Frozen gets completely blanked out immediately? It doesn't get anything at all. Not even song.
No, I think the amount of momentum behind Into the Unknown will probably get that in. Even though I don't
people tell me, it's the wrong version of Into the Unknown. So,
well, from what I've seen, most people are just crediting it as Into the Unknown. They're not specifying which version.
I'm sure it's probably the one from the movie, not the Panic version.
It's in the end credits, so technically it's part of the movie.
That's true.
It's like, what was the Casey Musgraves song? Is it the one that Anna does? I can't remember the songs. But in the case of Panic at the Disco and Casey Musgraves versions were better than the ones that were actually in the film. The other one, which is Sven's song. Or am I getting that confused with the fucking rain? No, because the reindeer does sing in the thing, technically. That song, the version that's in the film is better than the version that they stick on at the end. That to me is the strongest song in that film, by far, and it just gets snubbed because Adina Menzel.
I have no commentary on Frozen 2. I've not seen it.
There you go.
Josephine says, if the Oscars had sportsmanship as a category, Jojo Rabbit would win, and Joker or Marriage Story would lose. Unique. The Oscars want to spike their ratings to have sports, including tug of war for Best Picture. Talk about this battle royal every year for supporting actor. Why don't we just actually make that real one year? Bry Guy does not want to see Beyonce get nominated for anything. Same. Smurfy Boy says,
the problem there is Spirit's blatantly going to go in, despite the fact, it honestly, it's like, just because Lady Gaga did it last year, it's now insert pop star here to get famous. Hence, with the Globes being Beautiful Ghosts and I'm Gonna Love Me Again, which I don't think is as good as like most of the Elton John songs in that film. I know they already exist, but it's like, And Spirit,
you see all this. stuff like Cats, Rocket Man, and The Lion King, where it's like movies that are fully based on pre-existing music. It's like these are all songs that were added just so they could get an Oscar nomination, and one of them has already failed.
If Kidman and Johansson are out of supporting actress, who spots? I think that commentary can be had for our next podcast.
I mean, looking at the critics' choice, it's like I don't rate the Lion King one. I don't rate Speechless from Aladdin. I don't rate Frozen 2, and I don't rate Rocket Man. The stand-up Harriet one was pretty good, and Wild Rose's Glasgow is really good. I mean, I was championing that from when I saw it back before the Academy Awards last time because I saw it early. I haven't seen Breakthrough, so I don't know how good that song is.
That's it. That's interesting.
I actually just saw Wild Rose like 2 days ago. It was right there at the library, and I was like, "Oh, I forgot I haven't seen this yet. I better get it."
The Jesse Buckley hype train.
And I can definitely see the song getting in.
I'm pleased. The thing is, I think it's going to get snubbed at the BAFTAs, and I'm like, you stupid set of bastards.
Somebody was asking about who's getting in supporting actress. I feel comfortable going ahead and answering that, given how much I can change that in the next week.
That's fair.
If I had to say who I think is getting in supporting actress right now, I would say Dern, Robbie, Zhao, Florence Pugh, and Kathy Bates. I don't have any doubts on Florence Pugh yet because I still think she very well could have been at SAG if. So maybe they. I mean, there's always that question. Maybe they just didn't take the Little Women, but I feel like it's much more likely it was like a Django situation, and they just didn't see it in time, or not enough of them saw it in time. So until then, I'm still gonna stick with Florence Pugh also. Unless, like I said, something drastically changes my mind in the next week, which is totally possible.
I have about the same, but I'm not putting Zhao in, not just yet.
You told me you thought about it. Did you ever end up watching Richard Jewell?
Not yet. We have it, which I can actually watch, but it's just
almost every single Kathy Bates scene is practically an Oscar clip. And I do have to give credit to my brother, because my brother, who hasn't really been following much of anything, randomly told me on the phone that he had seen a TV spot for Richard Jewell and was like, I feel like Kathy Bates could get nominated. Does she have any buzz? And at the time, I had to tell him no. And then the Globes came out.
The trailer looks good.
On a sideline, to bring it back to wrestling, did you see the news bit from Meltzer, Owen, regarding Jewel? So
you have to be more specific.
Apparently,
the WCW thing.
Yeah,
I did actually.
Just to say,
random.
Just to quickly say it to AJ, just to TLDR it. Bobby Heenan went up to him and said, "Let me take you back." Kaboom! And Richard and his mum immediately left.
It's funny. Bry Guy brings up Klaus for
yeah.
animated.
Oh yeah. I think I feel good about it. Also, I knew there was one I was forgetting. It's definitely that one.
Welcome back, cool guy. He says, I think I'm gonna might take the win at the Oscars.
The interesting thing is, for me, either Frozen 2 or Toy Story 4 is getting snubbed. Because if both are in the category, it's going to split, and it might hurt it.
But we shall see. If Cynthia Erivo wins for original song, she wrote "Stand Up," so she can get
Co-wrote.
I guess I wonder if that still counts. I'm sure it probably does.
Yeah, but it's not
So we're saying she's gonna pull a Lady Gaga. She may or may not get in actress, but she has a better chance in song.
I'm good with that. catchy song from Lego Movie 2 was fun, and every Toy Story song gets in at the Oscars with "I Can't Let You Throw Yourself Away."
Yeah.
But then again, Randy Newman's in for Marriage Story.
Very true. Josephine says, between Bombshell, 1917, and Little Women, which one is more likely to be snubbed? Completely.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are we talking about exactly?
Because for acting categories, obviously it's 1917. For director, I'd say Bombshell.
Maybe are they talking? Are they maybe talking about score?
Maybe. I'm not sure. Josephine, please elaborate.
Talking about score, I've heard that despite the fact that they obviously love Despois and just in general, that most of Little Women's music is pre-existing pieces. Like, people were surprised it's still eligible. When ABBA and the Beatles bumped out the two popes from eligibility.
Are we talking about Moulin Rouge style music?
Not exactly, no.
Dang it. Hoping that'd be the case.
I think 1970 is probably the front runner for score, wouldn't we say? I'd love it to be Joker, but I would say, especially with Newman's track record, he's like, isn't he like the Deacons of score?
Yeah, Josephine meant picture.
Okay, what three were they?
Bombshell, 1917, Little Women, Bombshell.
Yeah, I still don't know what
right now.
Because I had Little Women being snubbed last time, but I don't know about that anymore.
Yeah, same.
But I don't know. But once again, I don't know what I would bump out to put it there, unless it be Ford versus Ferrari. But Ford versus Ferrari seems to be coming in and out.
Yeah.
don't know.
It's weaving
'Cause
to get the heat on the
saying-
wheels so it can get ready for. In the words of Matt Damon, not yet. Not yet. Now.
I was saying all damn season that I didn't believe in Ford versus Ferrari, and then when I saw the movie, I changed my mind, and now that I've changed my mind, Ford versus Ferrari is going to go back to probably doing jack shit, except weirdly enough, Bale. But Bale's also in one of the most competitive categories.
He's not winning, no, but he's getting nominated.
I do not speak in absolutes when it comes to actor.
Joaquin Phoenix will be nominated for Best Actor.
Probably.
So, more questions. So, Cool Guy says, I think supporting actress is the SAG lineup minus Kidman for Bait.
Is that Johansson getting double nom or snub for Marriage Story? I assume he means double nommed.
That's what it looks like.
Of course, I'm wondering how weary the Academy is of doing double nominations now, because if anybody was going to do it recently, it probably would have been Alicia Vikander in 2015. But then they were like, oh no, her role in The Danish Girl, where she had more screen time than Eddie Redmayne, that's supporting. And fuck Ex Machina. But not fuck Ex Machina, because let's give it visual effects from out of nowhere. That was a weird-ass year.
Yeah, speaking of that, The Farewell is it pretty much DOA minus screenplay? So that's Cool Guy? AJ doesn't seem to think so.
I'm hanging on, but I'm not, because I don't think Awkwafina is entirely dead, despite the SAG snub. But I do think if she's... Because the thing is when you look at SAG, and I don't have much... I mean, I really want Lupita in here.
Yes, thank you.
But I think Lupita's in 7th.
No.
Because you've got... Oh, wait, is it 7th or 6th? Because you've got the... Okay, so we've got... The ones that aren't at SAG would be Awkwafina and Ronan. Yeah, that's 7. So, it's the idea of... I'm starting to get more and more faith in Erivo. The question is would she bump out Awkwafina or Ronan? Of which neither at SAG. So the question is the whole thing of them possibly not seeing Little Women in time, and Ronan snub at SAG meaning nothing, which is the most likely. But I also told you earlier in the year I was cautious of Ronan, even if I'm still sticking with Florence Pugh.
Mm-hmm.
who's in an even more competitive category. I don't know, because I'm starting to come back to the Erivo thing, but it's really hard, because my immediate choice was take Aquafina out to put Erivo in, but I'm not entirely sure about that, and I feel like the next person on the chopping block would be Ronan, regardless of how well Little Women does, because as we've seen with the example I use every single time, Arrival, a movie can do about as well as it possibly can, and its lead can still get snubbed, despite how good their lead has done up to that point. So, yeah, The Farewell, I feel like The Farewell is going to go either way. The Farewell is either going to overperform, or, yeah, it's dead outside of screenplay. And I have no idea which one it's going to be, because I don't know that I have fully let go of Lulu Wang yet. Which after shit like Pawlikowski, I don't feel is too much of a stretch. Because now Pawlikowski has shown that obviously he got in BAFTA, didn't he? And I think so. He did have a push, but it's like,
Yeah.
I feel like we're even at the place now where every year there's an actor that comes in from out of nowhere. Sometimes multiple actors. Last year it was Marina de Tavira and Defoe, and it's like, could directors start doing that shit too? Maybe. And it's possible. And if there's that much backlash about there not being a female director at the Globes, maybe stop sticking so much with Gerwig and go with fucking Lulu Wang. So that's yeah. So yeah, all that means The Farewell could go either way.
Okay, so Bry Guy says, a lot of the supporting actress winners are usually mother roles, and Bates did win NBR.
NBR can also be a kiss of death.
That is true.
Remember Emma Thompson for Saving Mr. Banks?
Don't remind me. Bry Guy says, we all know one thing, Best Actress winner will be really boring this year.
Yeah. I mean, does anybody think it's not going to be Zellweger?
Which is funny, we say this now, but when we get to the award shows, somebody out of nowhere, and then we're having this reverse of the conversation we're having right now.
Now, considering it's a British film, Judy, if it doesn't get Best Actress at BAFTA, does that does that signify anything?
I wouldn't think so.
Because if anybody was going to give it to it, it would have been, and it's even broadcast on the same channel that does the whole thing.
After last year, I don't even know how to rely on BAFTA going for stuff we think it's going to go for. Actually, no. BAFTA started being really weird when they snubbed Dallas Buyers Club entirely. And everybody said, oh, well, Michael Fassbender's already across the finish line. And they went with Barkhad Abdi instead. And now we've got stuff like last year where they snubbed Blunt entirely, but they love Vice.
Hot damn.
How much does BAFTA being BAFTA, like, what even is that anymore?
True. So, Cool Guy says Scarlett will be the first double since Cate Blanchett.
I would love, like, I could take or leave her being nominated for Marriage Story, but I would love to see her nominated for Jojo Rabbit.
Absolutely.
I really hope that happens.
Josephine says, do you think Jojo Rabbit could win picture due to the theme political tolerance?
Jojo Rabbit's not really at the momentum it once had.
It needs more momentum right now.
If it can get the momentum it once had back, I feel like anything's possible. Like when I went all in on Waititi getting in director there for a couple of videos.
Yeah.
I still don't know if that's not impossible. Still.
DGA creates a lot of different things.
Could it depend on
weird...
Could it depend on the UK? Could it depend on the UK stuff, given that it's launching over here? I mean, I'm seeing it New Year's Eve as part of a preview, but it launches New Year's Day. Like it's that week right before we get the, because I think the Oscar nomination, the Oscar nominations, are they already out? or isn't it like a 1 week window or something, like right at the start of the year?
I wrote that down somewhere. It is.
It's one thing I don't have written down on my calendar is when actually the Oscar nominations are being announced.
The nominations announcement, I think, is the 13th.
Yeah.
Oh, goody! The day that the construction starts in the apartment.
The week,
Wonderful.
The week after the BAFTA announcements, because I think that's the 7th.
The day after the Critics' Choice Awards.
Because the BAFTA nominations feel like they're so late this year. Because I was thinking they were typically a little closer to the others, usually, aren't they?
There's usually a 2 week gap between BAFTA and Oscar, but because of Oscar moving earlier, they've had to sort of be a 1 week gap.
Cool, guys.
We almost got back to the really old style. Back when the BAFTAs used to be after the Oscars.
Got close.
I think that was originally going to be, but they realised that's a stupid idea, so that's why they relocated.
Cool Guy says, farewell missing SAG with it being summer.
You want to say that one more time?
No. Honestly.
Farewell
being a summer film and it missing SAG is not a good sign.
Yeah, but I don't know. The farewell is just a giant. Like I don't know if the farewell is a giant question mark or I just can't let it go. And I don't know why I can't let it go. It's not even one of my favorite movies of the year, so it's not even a personal bias. For some reason, I just can't let it go. Because I think I don't know. I honestly don't know. The farewell is such a question mark.
Have to see what PGA says Bry Guy. Josephine says, fun trivia. Barry Jenkins was not aware of this.
Barry Jenkins and Lulu are a thing, yeah.
Cool Guy says, I'm predicting Zellweger, but she is by no means a lock. I can see her losing SAG to Charlize or Scarlett Johansson.
I don't want to jump the gun, but I would say it would be Charlize that is her competition.
Yeah, considering
I would say
considering actors and Fox News.
Because like we were saying before, apparently there is a little bit of controversy that people think Bombshell is too easy on Megyn Kelly. But like we were saying, Green Book and Bohemian Rhapsody, controversy just doesn't affect you anymore. So
they purposefully made Bo Rap Horseman as not being too seedy about Freddie's life, which is what led to all the issues with Dexter Fletcher leaving the first time round and Sacha Baron Cohen leaving and Ben Whishaw leaving. So
the other thing about Charlize that's interesting is if people haven't seen Bombshell yet, she's probably not near as showy as people think she might be.
Not at all.
In as much as because it looks showy because of the makeup, but that's just the thing is makeup is an entirely different category.
Yeah.
True.
So, but the performance itself is pretty downplayed.
Do you think
it's not Gary Oldman?
Good God. Josephine says, do you think ScarJo's popularity with Marvel could help her win Best Actress?
I saw a headline that made no sense to me whatsoever. That said, number one, Adam Driver is at the front of Best Actor anyway, right? Well, the headline said, I don't remember what site this was, probably some bullshit one, but they said, will Star Wars help Adam Driver get to a win the way the Hunger Games helped Jennifer Lawrence? There's so many things about that don't line up. Number one, the Hunger Games became a really big deal, and Star Wars is getting, I've got to use that unfortunate pun again, a lukewarm reaction. And also, the Hunger Games came out in March. So it was almost a year later that Lawrence won, and Star Wars is like right here. So I have no idea what that headline meant. So I would say, unless the other movies are contenders, like we've been saying, Margot Robbie is pretty safe for Bombshell, not only for the performance, but because she's got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood to back her up. And Johansson having both Marriage Story and Jojo Rabbit, I would say has much more play than another outside movie, like how the whole Norbit Eddie Murphy thing, or the opposite, where it's like we saw that Jupiter, people started talking up like Jupiter Ascending was going to kill Eddie Redmayne his year, when it obviously didn't. I would say unless the movie is a contender, it's not an outside influence as much as people want to think with that Eddie Murphy thing.
Look at last year. Mahershala Ali. Literally the same week, a few weeks after Alita Battle Angel.
Yeah.
And he still got supporting actor.
Also known as his Blade audition.
Well,
Okay,
considering the Oscars are on ABC, that does make sense.
Cool Guy says BAFTA screening for the last 2 years. I don't get why BAFTA went Vice over Borat. Yeah.
Because they wanted to give the trophy to the guy that looked like he walked out of the Big Lebowski.
So that's the reason why Avengers Endgame is not in this race? Anyway, do you think Sterling K. Brown has a chance for Best Supporting Actor in Waves, considering the popularity of This Is Us? AJ's been talking up this performance for a while.
Yeah, Waves has not really shown up in anybody's list. Well, not any of the lists of like the awards stuff yet. Not even with the guilds that much.
Yeah, there's always that stuff like, well, not always, but sometimes there's that stuff like, not that Waves would do something this big, but the example that comes to mind is American Sniper. It was just kind of off the radar the whole season, and then it got in it just the last minute that it had a really strong Oscar showing, yet not a strong showing anywhere else by any means. That could have been for another reasons, being a movie like American Sniper, but it's not impossible. I kept thinking it was going to happen to Silence, which never happened, but yeah, there's always that possibility of something just getting in at just the last minute, and Waves totally could be one of those. It could be the fifth slot in original screenplay. I didn't even mention it a little bit ago, but yeah, I am honestly psyched and scared to see what actually ends up in original screenplay, because that's a category you could expand to 10, and they wouldn't have to reach. So. Yeah, where did this start again? Waves. And yeah, there is still that open slot in supporting actor, and it's not as far as it being his popularity on this is that potentially kind of what we were just talking about with Laura Dern and Big Little Lies. So yeah, you could probably say that to an extent.
Cool Guy says, I think Joaquin takes actor. Renee and Charlize both won their Oscars the same year. Alita Battle Angel will be an Oscar nominee, calling it now. Sniper did well at the Guilds, even got DGA.
That's right, the Guilds.
And Josephine says, go ahead.
Keep going.
Josephine says, Jeff Snyder from Collider Movie Talk says he knows people in the Academy who thinks Bombshell is a mess. Do you guys know any Academy members personally?
I know a couple of SAG people, but not like they're not Academy voters.
I have friends that get screeners. That's all I can say.
Plus, last year we had the revelation of your source that was telling us about the VFX stuff. What was it?
Oh yeah, he's like a I guess, I mean, I struggle to say journalist, but he writes for a website.
We're trying to, Bragan. We're trying to.
As part of the press, he was able to go to the Bake Off for visual effects, so there was that, yeah.
Where did we leave off?
Hold on. In original screenplay, I feel good about Parasite. in the farewell. I mean, I think most people do at this point, except for me, because I didn't put Parasite on. Yeah, it seems to be the normal 4 that everybody's jumping on. So someone, Scott Mansell from Popcorn Talk, who knows people in the Academy, said that nobody think it could hurt it in the preferential ballot. I don't think Bombshell's getting in the best picture. I could see it in the acting categories, but I don't see it going any further.
I'm assuming people are talking at Bombshell and Picture based on the SAG Ensemble nomination.
Probably, but again, we obviously look at all the SAG ensembles that could have been nominated that were not, too.
Yeah, because there's so much going on in Picture, but again, it goes back to what we were saying in the last video. No matter there's so many packed categories. No matter what, there's going to be snubs.
Yeah, this is true.
We just have to know that's going to happen already. So if something does get snubbed for Bombshell, we shouldn't be surprised.
And the last thing I'll say here before we get into the comment that, Josephine was talking about The Irishman, not Bombshell.
Okay, so what's the comment?
So is it going to be is The Irishman going to be hurt because nobody that this guy has talked to says ranked it as their favorite movie?
I think The Irishman's going to be fine.
Yeah.
It may not be their favourite, but I think it's going to be in 7, 8, 9, 10, a certain number here.
I think it'll probably be top 5.
Because there is always the case of somebody hears something, or some people have their anonymous ballots published and stuff like that. There's still over 6,000 people in the Academy. So,
cool guy
as we saw by Green Book last year, quite a lot of them are suckers.
Anyway, also calling this snub, cool guy said The Irishman will be this year's Black Panther in visual effects.
Yeah, where it's like, it seems like it should be an obvious choice, but there's just enough backlash for it that it's going to not make... Yeah, I would say so. A movie that I think actually will make visual effects, that I was initially surprised was even on the list, is Gemini Man. Because of the... how they did it in, like, a new way, where, to my understanding, they were de-aging Will Smith, like, as they were making it, rather than in post, with, like, brand new technology or something. It's like, even despite, like the shit reaction some movies tend to get, like we were talking about with The Lion King, there's going to be quite a few movies. Like, he mentioned Alita also, and we were talking about how The Lion King could potentially win. There's going to probably be a lot of movies and visual effects with shitty reputations otherwise.
I tell you, Cats is going to get in, mainly because they need the general going public to go, how the fuck did that happen?
Don't even say that out loud.
No, because I want that to happen. Because again, the studio doesn't exist. So who do they hand it to?
Hours. 2 hours. Not yet, but 2 hours. Keep that in mind.
What you're saying is, even if Cats won something, it winning something would still turn into a disaster.
No, hand it to Judi Dench in the mocap suit, which has apparently got leaked to some of the cinemas on opening night. Well done, Technicolor. You sent the wrong file, you prat.
2 more comments in chat, and then we can go back to where we were. Because this show's never going to finish otherwise. I think, so Cool Guy says he has Irishman in 3rd. Cool Guy says Hollywood in 2nd and Parasite in 1st.
I don't have any reason to say that's wrong. I mean, it does, like, there's so many things you want to say about Parasite, like, well, it's a foreign movie, well, that, but there's, like, the momentum for Parasite just never ends. So it's like, it's totally possible that a foreign movie is at the front. Because I still can't remember a negative thing I've heard said about Parasite at this rate.
Cats is the Razzie frontrunner, and Josephine asked one last question. Do you think Us has a chance for score?
I was really pleased to see it on the short list. I hope it happens.
I think it will happen. One of 2 nominations it'll get.
That
Fingers crossed.
that piece of music that plays when they go to the beach is fucking terrifying.
As someone who went through the house many times a couple months ago, I will say that slowed down version of "I Got 5 on It" is still stuck in my head to this day.
Problem is that original?
Don't care. Still stuck in my head. I did the house a lot because I was around that street, so it was very easy to do. So, are we moving on, or what is left to do other than to say this has just been a very clusterific podcast between the 3 of us today?
How do we feel about? There's always that category, like actor. To my understanding, filled in pretty nicely, and
Yeah.
we all seem pretty thrilled about the Rowan Griffith Davis nomination.
Yes.
And Daniel, this is like the one time I'm thrilled Daniel Craig gets nominated for something.
Yeah, and does Knives Out have chance of getting much at the Academy?
It's definitely in that revolving door for screenplay.
Yeah.
Knives Out could be used to fucking describe the fucking battle for that 5th slot in screenplay.
Could Knives Out do a spotlight? Because of the cast and everything, do they ensemble it and put it in Best Picture? Because of everybody's performance?
It's crazy. It's a little crazy it's not at SAG. The question I was going to ask is about actress in a musical or comedy. They obviously had to reach a little bit. I remember when I saw Where'd You Go, Bernadette. When I saw Where'd You Go, Bernadette, I was like, well, I guess Blanche could get a Globe nomination or something, but it's going to have to be a really weak-ass year. Well, it's apparently a really weak-ass year.
Why isn't the fuck isn't Dever in there as well as Feldstein? They're both good.
Caitlin Dever really should be a double Globe nominee this year. And it's like, I'm not even saying nominate Dever over Feldstein. Just put her in instead of fucking Blanchett, or even.
I would say welcome to the only award that Awkwafina is guaranteed to win this season.
I think me and Ashley might be thinking the same thing.
Considering how like pivotal she is in Knives Out, don't rule that out.
First off, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't say anything either way.
As much as I'm this bizarre cheerleader for The Farewell, I would love to see Ana de Armas win.
But then again, she was in The Informer, which was very.
Oh, let's see. Cool Guy thinks that Knives Out may get PGA. Josephine says, I think Once Upon a Time is more likely to win PGA when Parasite gets picture, helped by their preferential ballot. And I would have nominated Jillian Bell instead of Kate Blanchett.
Sorry. Keep going. I've just noticed the worst snub I've ever seen this year.
Continue.
Okay. So I just noticed stunt ensemble in motion picture. Avengers, Ford v Ferrari, Irishman, Joker, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Where the fuck is John Wick 3?
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
How?
MTV Movie Awards are not very long away, Ashley.
The thing was that fucking strong that they literally said, let's do a stunt category for the Oscars. And the Screen Actors Guild is like, nah, fuck it. What the hell? There aren't that many stunts in The Irishman. Just Al Pacino getting shot off screen. Half the people, the captions come up, oh, they dead. Like, Don't want to show us.
Let us not forget the infamous scene where De Niro beats up that grocer like he's 150 years old.
Oh, I'm getting flashbacks to AEW. Only Owen will get the reference.
Don't even start. Rest in peace, your career, Eric Cannon. So.
Oh shit! Is that who it was? Oh no! We named it.
Anyway, comedy too is still comedy. Yeah. So one of the things that I remember saying to AJ when I talked to him on the phone after the nominations came out was the fact that the things that surprised me the most were obviously Taron Egerton and Jamie Foxx. And one of the biggest ones I was very happy with was Lupita Gunn and SAG. And I want that to be a thing. It needs to be a thing. I don't know if it will be a thing, but I want it to be a thing. There's a lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to believe certain things are going to happen based on precursors, based on things that have happened in previous years. Every year we just throw the rule book out the window because no matter how much we think we know, at the end of the day, we're just guesstimating until everything gets announced.
Why is Anna Paquin listed in the ensemble for cast? She's in it for 4 seconds.
Josephine, photography is up for wildcard nods like A Hidden Life, Portrait of a Lady on Fire in the Lighthouse.
Yes, but Roger Deakins exists. So the argument is probably null and void.
It's going to be one of those cases of...
It's weird. It's like, why do we have to give him the award all the time? Go ahead, AJ, sorry.
It's one of those cases where they go to do the nominees for cinematography, and they say it's 1917 and then 4 others.
Roger Deakins, here's your award. These are the 4 people you've defeated. Congratulations.
Obviously, I really want Richardson to be in there, but it's going to be stiff competition.
Yeah, looking at the 6, I'm trying to work out which one drops out. Because it's not Roger Deakins, it's one of the other 5. Yeah, I'm just looking at the Critics' Choice. Man, 1917 is in a lot of the technicals. Then again, war movies normally do well. I mean, look at Dunkirk.
Yeah, every time Owen has said something doubtful about 1917, I always tell him, just think of 1917 as Dunkirk. Minus, a lot of people have it in editing, but given not only just in general the concept of it, but the fact that Birdman was also snubbed makes me think that it wouldn't be, and especially since there's plenty of competition to it, and people are going to want the.
Is it going to be a case of how they edit the scenes together to make it look like it's one continuous? That why they might be praising it?
Yeah, because there's like so many. Yeah, the same questions we went into with Birdman.
Last question before we go any further. Josephine also chimes in and says, do you think Parasite production design, they built their campaign about how they built the house?
Yeah, I'm betting on that.
I'd even say, considering the set design and all that, Farewell could be in with a shout for production design. Possibly.
We'll find out what we think in about a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Less than that, actually. May not get the final predictions until the first or second day in January, but we're not sure yet.
In theory, couldn't we do it like the 2nd of January before the Globes get revealed on the Sunday?
I mean, it's very possible. Cool Guy says I was one of the few people who predicted Hacksaw for Best Picture nomination before the Globes. Just saying. Well, it happened. Nothing will ever beat Crash, is all I have to say to you.
Yeah, because I remember there was a question mark for a while about Hacksaw Ridge because people were wondering if they were going to embrace Gibson or not, and they clearly did eventually.
Only thing that could keep Parasite from winning picture is the fact it's winning international film. I don't think that matters.
Did Life is Beautiful win international film as it was then and Best Picture?
Yeah, it was nominated for picture and won foreign.
Oh, okay, it was the other way around. Oh, it was, yeah, because it was actor that it won for.
Yeah.
With Roberto being a dick.
So, do we have any further commentary on the actual nominations as of this moment?
We haven't really gone into director much.
That was the last thing I wanted to go into. And the one thing I will say is two words that I wasn't sure that would come into this category, and now people are starting to jump to conclusions. Todd Phillips.
One could easily jump to the conclusion that Globe has it, but there's because I do feel like they're gonna go with one of the women, and it's the whole thing of, like I was saying, obviously the press is all about making Gerwig the poster child for this, but I would and obviously yeah, but I would still say if somebody needs to be the poster child for a woman getting nominated as director this year, it needs to be Lulu Wang. But that's that question mark of the farewell. Is it going to overperform, or there's really no? I feel like there's no middle ground. It's going to overperform or underperform. Underperforming being just screenplay by itself, I guess. I know some people will probably just call that just performing, but I would call The Farewell only getting a screenplay underperforming. But that's just me.
What would you say? What? 3 nominations would be average? Or would that be over?
I would say overperforming would be picture, director, actress, supporting actress as well. Yeah. Yeah, so that would be an performance because I still feel good about that.
Potentially 5, not, obviously not sure about what's going on with the text. So, we'll see.
I could see it. I could see all of its nominations being in the top 8. So overperforming would be picture, director, actress, supporting actress, screenplay, and underperforming would be just screenplay. But I still feel confident in Zhao, despite the fact that she hasn't shown up in a big way yet. But like I said, she's got Marina de Tavira written all over her. So
maybe there isn't one this year, though. Who knows?
One what?
There isn't a Marina this year.
That's the thing, is there's a lot of the times there's multiple actors that come in with no precursors, no major precursors. Like I said, it was her and Willem last year, and I'm still feeling Willem's going to do it again.
It happened. Cool Guy says, I think Roma was hurt more for it being a slow art house film than it was for being foreign. Yeah, we'll see. I guess the world may never know. Brian says, I feel like Waititi could be the director getting nominated for the Oscar, but nowhere else. That'd be nice. He belongs in here, but it seems like he has to defeat so many people to get in there.
Yeah, the last video I compared him to Lenny Abrahamson.
Mm.
The other thing as well with Roma is that felt maybe more like a passion project. Like Irishman is to Scorsese. Whereas Parasite actually feels sort of edgy and to the time, sort of like a Jojo Rabbit or, to a lesser extent, Joker as well.
I thought the Globes would have been the ones to nominate Waititi. Sure, says Murphy Boy.
Well, they clearly still like it's. It's always a question with the Globes in the comedy category, where you can't tell if they really genuinely like something or they just ran out of space, or they had too much space.
Right. Bright Guy calls a director picture split. Hey, as long as Tarantino walks out with Best Director on the Oscar Sunday, I'm happy.
Do you think with the Critics' Choice there's a chance that, like last year, we get a tie somehow?
God, I hope not, but it could happen.
Because
But
some of
are we
them
all?
seem close enough, in terms of the bloodbath that it could be, that maybe it could.
Well, there's all. As far as director goes, with you mentioning Todd Phillips and in the conversation going from, even though we have stuff like what happened to Affleck and Bigelow in 2012 and Bradley Cooper last year and Martin McDonagh a couple of years ago.
I hate all of these.
As of right now, are we all agreeing on Scorsese, Tarantino, Bong Joon-ho, and Sam Mendes? Or is one of them too safe?
I think Ho is too safe.
I told you, honestly, if there's the person that I feel is the safest, which is something I hate doing in this season, especially this late, if I had to pick one director here that will absolutely, positively not miss, it's Mendes.
It shouldn't be the case, but it probably is.
I did a breath of relief there because I thought you were going to be blinded by Tarantino, but I think the same. If you were going to say like the one that's going to be like in everybody's sort of list, it's probably, I'd say, more likely to be Mendes just because of the scale of the thing. Then again, of course, 1917 is a passion project for him because it's based on a story that his grandfather told him. So,
Yeah, I want to say Tarantino, but as you know, I try to be as like the most arrogant I'm going to get about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is when I mentioned it hasn't taken a hit yet. And it's like I feel cautious even saying that. So, but yeah, if I had to bet on one director for sure, I would say Mendes.
What do you think's the most likely hit to it? Because of the possible bloodbath, maybe DiCaprio, or is that too strong a performance?
Yeah, I saw some people before De Niro started getting snubbed. I saw people taking DiCaprio out in place of Murphy, which I can see because of the somewhat similar roles as far as them being like desperate actors. But I would. But now the actor is like so weird. But the De Niro snubs are making actors so weird right now.
And I understand, like, trying to tip my hand here, but if things go the way that I may or may not be leaning towards, I can see Parasite getting into picture without a Best Director nomination. I've never had Ho in this race at all, but that's on me.
Part of me's wondering with De Niro whether the reason he was snubbed at SAG is because he's getting the Lifetime Achievement Award. Like they don't want to give him 2 awards.
I do just want to. I don't want to be like a stickler for anything, but just for the sake, I would like to mention that if you're going to call him one name, it would probably be Bong, because it's Bong. The last name and the hyphenated first name.
First off, I'm seeing it spelled differently. That's why it's throwing me off.
Because I was saying about that because I've been putting Zhao last in her name, but then calling him Bong Joon-ho, and it's like it's not lining up. It's just it's inconsistent.
I have not ever had Bong Joon-ho in this race for me personally.
Which is very interesting because I would probably put him behind Mendes in that thing I was talking about.
I never had Mendes until we worked into it.
I said Tarantino and Scorsese are my horses in the race. Cautious saying anything too hopeful about them, but yeah, even with that, that's probably what I would say.
Like, and what director is the DGA surprise that's going to get the Oscars? That could be where Rotiti comes in.
That could be. I think that could be one of two things. It'll either be Baumbach or one of the women. But I'm still thinking
both as of right now, so I don't know what to do.
Actually, you know who else people have been starting? I'm not betting on it, but he's a name I've started to see more and more throughout. is people are bringing Almodovar into the conversation.
No.
So what is that?
I'm not going with Pain and Glory. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. I'm not Banderas either.
Dude, I'm feeling good about Banderas. I would rethink that.
Is Safdie Brothers maybe a shout of being the weird DGA one as well?
Yeah, because it's so weird what Uncut Gems is doing here. Because, like, I mean, I know I keep saying consistently the Critics' Choice doesn't matter, and it's got like 1 billion slots for everything.
Yes.
God, they fucking loved Uncut Gems.
Yeah.
And Uncut Gems hasn't made it anywhere else, but that's also the case of Uncut Gems coming out late. Like, I would have thought Sandler would have been a given at Globe. And they... Well, I don't know who I would say they put in his place, but... Jonathan Pryce? I would say Sandler's ahead of Jonathan Pryce if I had to guess. So so Uncut Gems is being weird because I feel like it is a major, major, major contender for that 5th slot in screenplay.
It is now.
And they are like, because I could almost see, like, I don't know. I feel like in another year it could have been like a Whiplash, had a surefire acting nominee and a picture nomination, but still kind of underperformed. Like, Whiplash would have probably, like, if Whiplash were made today, I think Chazelle would have easily gotten in director. Even if it was still, like, the first movie people really knew him for. I feel like I know it's only been 5 years, but there's been enough changes to the Academy to where I think if Whiplash came out today with Chazelle at where he was in his filmography at that time, he would have gotten in director for Whiplash instead of Morton Tildum, most definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. A couple more comments in chat. Murphy Boy says the reason Cooper didn't get nominated.
Yeah, I mean the Cooper situation with the director and best actor, I sort of I see that, but then at the same time, that hasn't. I don't think that's been a major factor because quite often you have had the actor sort of be in contention. Mainly,
we were just talking about Benini.
I mean, not that it's going to get a chance, but you can clearly tell that Edward Norton was trying to get Motherless Brooklyn in that front because he was doing the whole tick and everything.
I do think it's funny that one of the things I bashed about Motherless Brooklyn when I reviewed it was the score, and it's the only good thing that Motherless Brooklyn's doing awards-wise.
I enjoyed it. After seeing it, I was like, I actually see why that's in with a shout. Probably helped by Tom York.
I think it wasn't so much the score itself. I just thought the way it was used in the movie was a little much. Like, it was a little overbearing.
Right guy asked about the two popes with Hopkins or Price or Jay Roach for Bombshell.
I don't think Jay Roach is going anywhere.
Nope.
It's like I was kind of saying when I talked about it yesterday was it almost would have been better if he tried to copy Adam McKay, but it's like he had the idea to copy Adam McKay and then he gave up on it. It's like, well, we'll start the movie that way, but then we'll just kind of just make it another movie.
Cool guy says Stars Born was 2018's The Martian, a big completely crashed and burned.
I would hardly say The Martian crashed and burned. The biggest problem it had was it missed Ridley Scott.
Remember when people thought Scott would sweep his way to the Oscars? That was hilarious.
Exactly.
Orson and Benini got in for lead actor and director. Baby for Unforgiven, and Beatty for Reds and Heaven Can Wait.
Yeah. So it doesn't happen often, but there's the possibility.
All right. I think that's our conversation for the night. Everyone, thank you for joining us for the 2 hours you have spent sitting to us talk about the various potential winners. No, not really, but the various nominations that were thrown out.
The nominations
recently.
and the snubs, John Wick 3.
Yes.
Sorry, I only just noticed that now. Dear God.
Next week, Golden Globes predictions.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be getting ready for the Globes. And then, of course, we have our Oscar calendar to kick us in 2020. So looking forward to that. We have Popcast coming up, live reactions to the Oscar nominations. We won't be able to do it in the morning because I got this thing called a job. So it's not possible to do it then, but I will promise you that we'll do it the same way we did last year. We'll watch it all together. We'll all react to it, and I'll make sure I don't look at anything beforehand.
I'm going to try and have a quick look at the sort of rough ETA. So the Globes is the 5th, so we're probably going to react after with that, I'm guessing.
AJ, we're looking at a live podcast after the Globes.
I don't see why we couldn't.
Yeah.
Well, my schedule next week will reflect on if that's going to happen or not. So
Then Critics' Choice is the 12th. I guess that'll be the next major one. Then the week after that is
I'm
SAG
not
and
doing a podcast on the 12th.
Okay, whatever. We could do it. Well, I guess we could do it as a separate video, or just put it in the Oscar nomination thing. Then the week after that, we got SAG and PGA that weekend, so we could wrap them in together. Realistically,
We can surprise everyone with this calendar later.
it could be. Realistically, we could do one every week. I don't think we will, but
We might, you never know.
there's a major one every week between Globes to Oscars. So
It's gonna join the what the network has become now is basically just Voices of Liberty, occasional sip and snacks from whether it's me or Ashley, and then AJ content. So sure, awards content is a big deal on this network for a reason. And the last thing we're gonna say is actually gonna go to Cool Guy. He says De Niro stomped John Wick in the streets, Joker danced on John Wick's grave, Ford versus Ferrari ran over it, and Hollywood torched it. So ends another rousing game of loaded questions. That's for you, AJ.
and then Matrix 4 came along and said, "Don't mind if we take your release date, do we?"
And only as long as a phone booth is involved, that's all that matters. And we are moving on. Welcome to the end of our last podcast before Christmas. So yeah,
Christmas.
exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight, whether live or in archive. We really appreciate it. It's been over 2 hours here chatting about our different awards bodies, and it's been very fun, and I've enjoyed it. Thanks to everyone in live chat. Thanks to everyone that has been here for a minute. Obviously, shouting out to Bry Guy and the Cool Guy, and thank you for Josephine joining us. We hope you get to come back. Smurfy Boy, it's cool to see you as well. So we had a good time. Cassie is going to be watching later on. So
the questions were actually a blessing because they kept it more organized than we probably would have been.
accurate. So that's going to be your show, and Ashley will be sipping snacks in the near future.
Well, it's less of a sip and snack and more Happy Meal games.
Cool. Ashley's going to be joining in more content. AJ's got brand new AJ's Crit, which is going to finish out this week. So more AJ's movie reviews coming. We've got reviews coming of a lot of films in the near future. We just mentioned Little Women and Uncut Gems. Lots of things are going to be reviewed in the near future. I got some sip and snacks I still haven't done yet. I have a ton of Voices content that I have yet to put up. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming on the network. So stay tuned for that. Ashley, thank you for joining us this afternoon. AJ, thank you for joining us this evening. And chat, thank you again. As always,
He said afternoon. It's 1:53 in the morning. I just realised I'm not in Australia yet.
And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.
Feliz Navidad, everybody. Ah! Wait, I've got to end the stream. I didn't plan this for. Ah!